All right, guys, welcome back to Screencast Part 2 for Chapter 6. If you're here, it means that you've read Chapter 6 and you are ready to start your comprehension questions. So I'm going to get started by reading you question number 1. How do you think Byron's parents will react when they find out that he has signed up for free food in the form of cookies at the grocery store? Make a prediction. So Byron's parents told him about the system that they have for getting food at the grocery store, and they told him that because they needed his help. They needed him to go to the grocery store so that mama could get the ingredients she needed for dinner. Now, Byron starts to take advantage of this and go and sign up for food that eventually his parents are going to have to pay for, but right now they don't know what's going on. So I want you to think and make a prediction. How do you think his parents are going to react? What are they going to say? How do you think they're going to feel when they find out that he has been basically getting food that they're going to have to pay for? And not even food that the family needs, just cookies that he can enjoy. So make a prediction. Question 2. What caused the dove to die? What effect did the bird's death have on Byron? So there's two parts to this question. The first part is what caused the dove to die? So whose fault was it? And what did that person do? The second part of the question says what effect did the bird's death have on Byron? So what I'm asking you is, after the bird died, what happened to Byron? How did he act? How did he feel? How was he behaving? That could help us make an inference about what the death meant to him. Okay, so that's question 2. And I would suggest going back and rereading so that you're able to answer the question using evidence, because you are kind of making an inference. The author does not tell us. Byron feels sad. Byron feels ashamed. The author doesn't tell us that. So we're going to have to go back and look for clues to be able to make our inference. Question 3 says, Kenny tries to comfort Byron after he gets sick, and in response, Byron throws green apples at Kenny, calls him a punk, and tells him to leave. Why would Byron behave like this? So Byron throws up. That's one of the effects of something that happened in the chapter right before. And Kenny is really trying to be kind to him because he can see that his brother is upset. But instead of responding to Kenny and just sharing how he feels, Byron is calling him names and throwing stuff at him and telling him to get out of there. So why would Byron treat his brother that way when his brother's just trying to help him, when Kenny's just trying to help him? You have to, again, make an inference. So I would go back to that same part of the text right around where the dove dies, reread, and make an inference. Why is Byron treating Kenny like that when Kenny's just trying to help? The last question is, do you think Byron is a good person? Explain your thinking. So we have a couple different actions in this chapter for Byron to show that he is misbehaving. And we have a couple different actions in this chapter to show that he's a good person. So you have to look at the evidence and make your decision based on what you've read so far. Do you think all of his actions add up to make him a good person? Or do you think all of his actions add up to make him a person that is kind of mean and disrespectful? You have to decide and explain your thinking using examples from the text. So this is really an opinion question. There's no right or wrong answer. We're just looking to see, can you tell us what you think, and can you give us a reason for what you think? So again, you have 4 questions that you can choose from. I'd like you to circle 2, and when you have circled them, you're going to write each number here. So question number blank. So you just write your number there and write your number there. And then when you're finished answering the questions, you can resume the video and we'll go over the next part of the lesson that you'll need to do your choice activities. All right, so in the activities that you get to choose from, both of them involve comparing and contrasting. So I just want to take a minute to review what that means with you so that way you feel confident and able to compare and contrast in whichever activity that you choose. So just to review, compare means that you're looking at what is similar or the same, and contrasting means that you're looking at what is different or not the same. Okay, so here are some clues that you can look for. Oh, wow, I didn't know I could move my face. Learn something new every day. All right, so in order to compare and contrast, you are going to look for clues. So, first, what is each character saying and doing? Okay, so how do they respond to a situation? So, for example, let's say that I accidentally drop my coffee and I start crying. Miss Ngali standing next to me, she runs to get paper towels to clean it up. She's not crying. What's similar and what's different how, in our reaction? What's similar is that we both noticed that the coffee dropped and we both are concerned about it, but I show my concern by crying. That's how we're different. And she shows her concern by being a good friend and cleaning up my coffee that I just dropped. So that's how we would look at their reactions to things, their responses to things. You can also look at the feelings or emotions that each character has. So, for in that example, I started crying right away, so I was feeling really upset. But in Miss Ngali's case, she went into action right away, so she was being really a lot more responsible. And I could infer that she wasn't necessarily sad, but she knew I was sad, so she was being a good friend. She was being responsible to clean up the coffee that I dropped. So then you want to take what they are, how they are acting, the character, how are they are acting, what's their response, what are their feelings, and then put those together to make an inference. So here's my inference. I can infer Miss Weston was upset she dropped her coffee because she cried. I can infer Miss Ngali was being a good friend to Miss Weston because she cleaned up the coffee Miss Weston dropped. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. You are making an inference, but you're really to make your inference, you have to first look at how are they responding similarly and differently, how are their feelings similar and different, and then put those together to make your inference. So going into your choices today, I will explain to you a little bit more about what that looks like. So choice number 1. Kenny sometimes uses the nickname Daddy Cool when talking about Byron, when Byron has bad behavior. Think about what personality traits Byron has, both good and bad. Use examples from any chapter, to support your ideas, and list the personality traits and examples in the chart below. So looking in the chart below, we have nice Byron on one side, and then we have so right here, we have nice Byron. And then over here, we have Daddy Cool, which Kenny uses as a nickname for Byron when he's being mean. So here's an example. Byron protected Kenny from getting beat up at school. In that example, he was being protective. We can infer that if he is protecting his brother from getting beat up from school, even though he's mean to him, at home and in different parts of the day and in Kenny's life, even though he's mean to him, when Byron feels like it, he can be protective because the action is he stopped Kenny from being beat up. The second example I have for you is that Byron can be insulting. So Byron calls Kenny cockeye Kenny because of his lazy eye. He makes fun of his lazy eye. That shows me that if he's making fun of him and he knows that Kenny feels insecure and sad about that he can still be insulting. He can still be disrespectful to his brother. So what you are going to do is think about different examples in the text of what Byron's doing in a situation, how he's treating someone, and you're going to decide, is that a nice characteristic or is that a mean characteristic? And you're going to have to make an inference based on how the other characters are thinking and feeling. So that's your choice for option number 1. Option number 2 is to compare and contrast Byron and Kenny and how they respond to the bird's death. So I created a Venn diagram for you. In this circle here, this is where you will write about the things that only Kenny is thinking and feeling about the death. In this circle where it says Byron, that's where you will write down only what Byron is thinking and feeling about the bird's death. While here in the middle circle, you're going to write down what they have in common. So again, in order to compare and contrast, you want to look at what each character is saying, what are they doing, how are they feeling, and then make an inference. And you will write your answers, as I said, that just what Kenny's thinking and feeling go here, just what Byron's thinking and feeling go here. And then if there's anything that they have in common for how they respond to the bird's death, how they think, how they feel, what they say, then you'll write that in the middle. So go ahead and choose which activity you would like to do. Would you like to compare and contrast Byron, mean Byron and nice Byron? Or would you like to compare and contrast Kenny and Byron and how they respond to the bird's death? Your choice. Go ahead and pause the video and then resume when you are ready. All right, if you are still with me, that means that you have finished your comprehension activity and you are ready for your exit ticket. So, how do you think Byron was feeling about the bird he killed? Why do you think he was doing that to the bird if he felt so bad afterwards? So, Byron accidentally kills the bird by throwing things at it, right? Why do you think he was doing that if he felt bad after? Right? Like if he knew that there was going to be a consequence, why was he doing it? And then the second part of that question, how do you think he feels about the bird being killed? And I want you to really think about the end and what actions Byron takes with the bird after it has already died. So for this exit ticket, you are making an inference about how Byron was feeling, and then you are going to make a prediction about, or actually make an inference about why he was doing that to the bird if he felt so bad afterwards. So that is your exit ticket. I hope you enjoyed reading chapter 6, and we will be back next week with chapter 7. Have a great day.